Assalamu alaikum viewers, this is Shahbaz. So greetings to everybody, and as what has been anticipated for quite a while, I'm back here with a brand new series of business. So in my very first lecture of business, let us get started immediately. So starting the time with the name of Almighty Lord, who is the most beneficent and the most merciful once again. So here we are with a brand new series, that is business series, as you can see on the screen, and it's our lecture number 1. And before we get started, one suggestion that I would want to convey here to all my viewers and my listeners is that to have a professional attitude before we get started and start to learn any content out of my business lectures. The professional aspects of the professional words of the common and informal vocabularies of English. So use its more formal and unique style of speaking, which makes a common and informal English a business English at the same time. So we'll talk about that in my general lecture, which will be posted inshallah in the future. But today we are bound to proceed to our very first lecture, and this time the first lecture features in my business series business communication. So on the screen, my first topic of this official business series is business communication. Now, we are not going to go straight to the definition of business communication. All we are going to do is to break the term separately. On one hand, we must have business, and on the other, we have communication. So let us start to check first and foremost, what does the word business mean? Now, many of you may definitely know what business means and what business really is all about. So what I have here for you is to give you the most simple definition, and that is on the screen before you. The word business actually stands for any economic activity which is undertaken with a view to earn profit. Like what? I mean, we do business only for one purpose, and the purpose is to earn profit. And that profit can only be earned once we are economically active. So anybody who establishes a business, the prime motive for that individual has to be and is always to earn profit. So business means an economic activity that gives you the reason to earn profit. Get down straight to the second part of that terminology, and that is communication. What communication really is. Now we all know what we do to communicate. In simple language, it is called language that we have to speak with. But the communication is something that we actually use purposefully. It's all the same as language, but it becomes communication in a different way. For example, let's feature the definition before you. Now there are so many definitions around in internet and in media, in different social medias, and you may have heard or may have read the definition of communication many times. So I have here a combination of some unique terminologies. Like, first of all, the term communication means to transfer or to share information, or we, in other words, calls it data, from one person to another. Like two persons share things together and communicate by actually sharing data or information to one another becomes communication. So the word communication is actually a Latin word, and it is actually taken from multiple Latin terminologies, three of which I have shown to you on screen. The first of which is communis, as you can see, or you call it communico, or in other words, you call it communicare. All three of them either mean common or simply common sharing, or in single most way can simply mean sharing. So this is what the Latin words can tell us about the word communication, where it has been taken from. So now I'm not going to give you the definition really of business communication until my second lecture, but I would want you all to form a definition of business and to combine it with communication, and to give the definition of business communication and to write it down in the comment section. And on one hand, you have business, which is an economic activity that allows you to earn profit, and on the other hand, you have communication, which is an information that we share to one another. So you mix them and you form a shortest possible definition of communication, and to put it in the comment section. Do share it with me so that I can give you the feedback into my next lecture. So the next thing we have is what makes communication effective. Now let's get down to the definitions end. Like, it features multiple skills. As you can see on the screen, the definition: a combination of a set of skills including non-verbal communication, attentive listening, the ability to manage stress in the moment, and the capacity to recognize and understand your own emotions and those of person you're communicating with. So these are the four things. Like non-verbal communication, we talk about it in a separate lecture in detail, but here what I can tell you right now is what non-verbal communication actually covers: all types of your attributes, your signals, your gestures, your postures, what you support it with your verbal communication. When you speak, that is verbal, and when you actually accommodate it with multiple signals such as gestures and postures, these become your non-verbal communication to support verbal communication. And then we have attentive listening. We have to be a good listener so that we can understand what the person we are speaking to, or and the person who is listening to us would understand us. So you need to understand the person right before you, and so that you can really communicate with him or with her correctly and comfortably. So you need to, and that communication is not too simple thing to do really. To speak professionally to someone gives you a kind of stress that you need to manage while talking to that very person. So you need to manage stress in that very moment. And yes, you need to understand not only your emotions but the emotions of the person right in front of you. So in that case, you need to follow the four skills, and we can see that in the separate slide, as you can see right on the screen. So these are the skills that I've talked about. The first is listening. The second is to attach your verbal communication with the non-verbal attributes, which is non-verbal communication. And the third is to manage stress or managing stress. And last but not the least is to be emotionally aware with not just your emotions, but the emotions of the person you're communicating with. So let's have a quick recap of the lecture. We have talked about what business really is. We have talked about what communication is, and now don't forget to form a definition to put it on the comment box so that I can give you my feedback on that into my next lecture. And then we talked about what makes communication effective, and last but not the least, we separated them into four skills, and we discussed the four skills separately. So that's all from my side for the first lecture, and we wait for the second lecture. So until next time, it's goodbye.